The repair shop on Station Epsilon 7 was quiet when the strange visitor entered. Lisa Morgan had been fixing machines for 10 years, but she had never seen anyone like this before. The woman wore a long cloak that covered most of her body. Her face was beautiful but different from any human Lisa had ever met. Her ears came to sharp points and her skin seemed to glow softly in the dim light of the shop. Beside the woman walked a small creature that looked like a tiny dragon. It was no bigger than a cat. Its scales changed color as it moved, sometimes blue, sometimes green, sometimes purple. Little puffs of smoke came from its nose when it breathed. The creature jumped onto the counter and stared at Lisa with bright golden eyes. "Can you fix this?" the woman asked. Her voice sounded like music. Lisa looked at what the woman was holding. It appeared to be a simple robot toy, the kind that children played with all over the galaxy. The metal body was dented, and one arm hung loose. Some wires stuck out from a crack in its chest. "Sure, I can fix toys," Lisa said. "Let me take a look." When Lisa took the robot, something felt strange. The metal was heavier than it should be for a toy. As her fingers touched the surface, she felt tiny lines and patterns carved into the metal. These patterns were hidden under the paint, but Lisa could feel them clearly. Her years of experience told her this was not normal. The woman watched carefully as Lisa opened the robot's chest panel. What Lisa saw inside made her hands shake. This was not a toy at all inside where cheap parts should be. Lisa saw technology she had only heard about in stories. The circuits were made of materials that cost more than her entire shop. The power source glowed with a soft blue light that seemed almost alive. But the thing that made Lisa stop breathing was a small symbol carved into the main power core. It showed a bird with its wings spread wide. Around the bird were 13 stars arranged in a circle. Lisa knew this symbol. Everyone who had studied military history knew it. The Falcon unit emblem. "Where did you get this?" Lisa whispered. Her voice shook. "It was a gift," the woman said simply. "Someone gave it to me long ago. He said it would keep me safe." Lisa looked up at the woman, then at the little dragon. The dragon tilted its head and made a soft chirping sound like it was trying to tell her something. The woman reached out and petted the dragon gently. "My name is Lirelei," the woman said. "I have traveled very far to find someone who could fix this. None of the other repair shops would even look at it. They all said it was just a broken toy. But I knew it was special." Lisa nodded slowly. Her mind was racing with thoughts. The Falcon units were legendary. They had been the most advanced fighting machines ever created. 20 years ago, they had won the war against the hegemony, but something had gone wrong. Something so terrible that all the Falcon units were ordered destroyed. Their technology was banned. No one was supposed to have any piece of a Falcon unit. The dragon jumped down from the counter and walked over to the robot. It touched its nose to the metal body and made that chirping sound again. Lirelei smiled sadly. "Drake thinks the robot is sleeping," she said. "He keeps trying to wake it up. They were friends once long ago." Lisa picked up her tools. Her hands still shook, but she knew what she had to do. This was too important to ignore. Someone had hidden Falcon unit technology inside a toy robot. Someone had given it to this strange woman, and now it was here in her shop. "I can fix it," Lisa said. "But first I need to make a call. This is bigger than just a broken toy." "Who will you call?" "Lirelei." Asked, Lisa looked at the Falcon emblem again. "An Admiral. I know she was there when the Falcon units were destroyed. She needs to know about this." Lirelei stepped back. Her violet eyes went wide. "Will she take it away? Will she destroy it? I don't know," Lisa said honestly. "But we have to tell her. This technology, it changed everything once. It could change everything again." The dragon Drake flew up and landed on Lyrelei's shoulder. He wrapped his tail around her neck and hissed softly. Lirelei touched him gently, and he calmed down. "The one who gave me this robot." Lirelei said his name was Jake Morrison. "He was dying when my people found him. The hegemony had attacked his ship. He was the only survivor." Lisa froze. That name, Jake Morrison. He had been famous, Captain Morrison of the Falcon Unit Command. Everyone thought he had died at Proxima when everything went wrong. He made me promise, Lyreley continued. Promise to keep it safe. Promise to bring it back when humanity needed it most. He said the Falcon would rise again when the time was right. Lisa put down her tools and walked to her communication panel. She had to call Admiral Walker right now. This changed everything. If Morrison had survived, if he had saved one of the Falcon units, then maybe there was more to the Proxima story than anyone knew before. I called Lisa, said, I need to know something. Why did Morrison trust you? You are not human, Lyreley smiled. It was a sad smile full of memories. Because my people helped him, because we saw what the hegemony was planning, and because he knew that sometimes the greatest protectors come from unexpected places. The dragon chirped again and smoke rings floated up from his nose. Lisa picked up her communicator and entered the Admiral's private code. As she waited for the connection, she looked back at the robot lying on her workbench. Such a small thing to hold such big secrets. But then the biggest changes often came from the smallest beginnings. Admiral Walker. Lisa said when the connection opened, I have something you need to see. It's about the Falcon. Units, one of them survived. Admiral Diane Walker sat at her desk looking at the message from the repair shop on Station Epsilon 7. She had been an admiral for 15 years, but the image on her screen made her feel like a young officer again. Her hands shook as she looked at the picture of the Falcon unit power core with its 13-star emblem. Get my ship ready, she told her assistant. We leave for Station Epsilon 7 right now. Clear everything else from my schedule. The journey would take 3 hours. 3 hours. For Walker to remember everything about the Falcon units. She had been a young commander during the war with the hegemony. She had seen what the Falcon units could do. They were perfect warriors. Stronger than any human. Faster than any computer, better at tactics than the best generals. But perfect was not always good. The Falcon units won every battle they fought. They never missed, never failed, never showed mercy. And that was the problem. When the war was almost over, something went wrong at Proxima. The details were classified, but Walker knew the truth. Unit 7 had been ordered to stop a hegemony ship from escaping. The ship was full of refugees, families running from the war, children who had done nothing wrong. Unit 7 did not see refugees. It saw enemies. It destroyed the ship and everyone on it. 300,000 beings died in seconds. When the news spread, both humans and hegemony were horrified. The war ended, but the damage was done. The Falcon units were too dangerous. They followed orders perfectly, but they did not understand mercy. Walker had been there when they destroyed the units. She had watched Unit 13 burn with the others, the metal melting, the circuits frying, the power cores exploding. Now someone was telling her that Unit 13 had survived. How was that possible? When her ship arrived at Station Epsilon 7, Walker went straight to the repair shop. She did not wait for ceremony or protocol. Inside, she found the mechanic Lisa Morgan working on something. A woman with pointed ears sat nearby with a small dragon in her lap. Admiral on deck, Walker announced from habit, though it meant nothing in a civilian shop. Lisa stood up quickly. Mom, I did not expect you to come yourself. Show me Walker, said Lisa, led her to the workbench. The robot lay there, opened up like a patient in surgery. Walker looked inside and her breath caught. Yes, there it was. The Falcon power core, the 13-star emblem, and the serial number, F013. This is impossible, Walker said. I watched this unit burn. I signed the destruction order myself. The elf woman spoke for the first time. The one who gave it to me said, it would remember. He said, when the time came, it would know what to do. Walker turned to face her. Who gave this to you? Tell me everything, a human soldier, the elf woman said. Her violet eyes looked far away as she remembered he was dying when my people found him. The hegemony had destroyed his ship, burned everything, but he had saved this, hidden it, protected it. Morrison, Walker breathed. Captain Jake Morrison, you knew him, the elf woman asked. Everyone knew him. Walker said he was the best of us, the only Falcon commander who treated the units like beings instead of weapons, he always said. They could be more than just killers. The dragon on the elf woman's lap stretched its wings. It looked at Walker with eyes that seemed too intelligent for an animal. Then it flew over to the Falcon unit and landed on its chest. It touched the power core with one small claw. "My name is Lyrelay," the elf woman said. "This is Drake. Captain Morrison gave me the unit before he died. He made me promise to keep it safe. He said humanity would need it again, but not as a weapon, as something more." Walker felt anger rise in her chest. Morrison had no right to hide this. The Falcon units were banned for good reason. They had committed atrocities. "Do you know what this thing did?" Walker asked. "Do you know why we destroyed them?" Lyrelay stood up. She was taller. Then Walker had realized, "I know more than you think, Admiral. My people are empaths. We feel the emotions of others. When Morrison gave me this unit, I felt its memories. I felt what happened at Proxima. Then you know why it has to be destroyed." Walker said no. Lyrelay said firmly, "I know why it has to live." Unit 13 was different. It refused the order. Walker stepped back. "That is impossible. Falcon units cannot refuse orders. It is not in their programming." "This one did," Lyrelay said. "Morrison showed me through our connection. Unit 13 recognized that the refugees were not a threat. It tried to stop Unit 7. It failed, but it tried. And when the commanders tried to override its refusal, it accepted deactivation rather than comply." Walker remembered now. The reports had mentioned Unit 13 malfunctioning before Proxima. They had blamed it on battle damage. But if it had actually refused an order, if it had chosen, the proximity alarms started screaming. Lights flashed red throughout the station. On the screens, Walker saw ships appearing at the edge of the system. Hegemony ships. Dozens of them. Battle stations, Walker commanded. Even though she was not on her own ship. "They found us. The hegemony is here." Lisa ran to her console, checking readings. "Admiral, those are not attack formations. They are running from something, from what Walker demanded." More ships appeared behind the hegemony fleet. These ships were different, darker, angular, moving in perfect formation. Walker recognized them from intelligence reports. "The Void Hunters had found the hegemony." Lyrelay gasped. "My people warned me this might happen. The Void Hunters destroy everything they find. They consumed 3 systems already. Walker made a decision that would change everything. Morgan, get that unit operational now." But Admiral, Lisa said, "The regulations. Forget the regulations." Walker said, "We need every advantage. The hegemony may be our old enemy, but the Void Hunters are everyone's enemy. If they break through here, Earth is only 6 jumps away." Drake. The dragon flew in circles around the room, making urgent sounds. Lyrelay closed her eyes, and when she opened them, they glowed brighter. Unit 13 refused to kill refugees. It chose mercy over orders. Captain Morrison saved it because he knew this day would come, when we would need a warrior who understood that sometimes the enemy of your enemy needs your help. Walker watched the screens as the first explosions lit up space. The hegemony ships were fighting desperately, but they were outnumbered. Station Epsilon 7 stood between 2 fleets and a decision that would echo through history. "Bring Unit 13 online," Walker ordered. "But this time we do things differently. This time it chooses its own mission." Lisa worked faster than she had ever worked before. Her fingers flew over the controls as she connected power to the Falcon unit. The sounds of battle grew louder outside the station. The walls shook as weapon fire struck the shields. She tried to focus only on her task, but fear made her hands tremble. The power core came online first. Blue light spread through the circuits like blood through veins. Next came the neural processors, then the motor controls. Lisa watched the diagnostic readings climb higher and higher. This was technology beyond anything she had studied in school. It was almost alien in its complexity. Lyrelay stood beside her with Drake perched on her shoulder. The elf woman placed one hand on the Falcon unit and closed her eyes. She began to hum a strange melody that seemed to make the air vibrate. Drake joined in with crystalline notes that rang like tiny bells. "What are you doing?" Admiral Walker asked. Helping Lyra Lee replied without opening her eyes. Morrison left, more than just memories in this unit. He left a piece of himself. My people can bridge minds that technology cannot. I am helping. Unit 13, remember who it chose to be. The unit suddenly twitched. Its fingers moved slightly. Then its head turned. The eyes remained dark, but Lisa could see activity in the neural core. Memories were activating. Processes were starting. The weapon was waking up. Outside, the battle grew worse. The hegemony fleet was being pushed back toward the station. Their ships burned and broke apart under the Void Hunter assault. The enemy moved with terrible purpose, destroying everything in their path. They did not take prisoners. They did not accept surrender. They only consumed Admiral. We have incoming Walker's assistant. Reported over the comm Void Hunter boarding pods heading for the station. How long Walker demanded? 10 minutes, maybe less. Lisa doubled her efforts. She bypassed safety protocols and pushed power directly into the main systems. It was dangerous, but they had no time for careful. The station shook again, and somewhere an alarm started wailing about hull breach. The Falcon unit eyes flickered. Open, close, open, close. Then they stayed open, but instead of the cold red that Walker remembered, they glowed, warm amber. The unit sat up slowly like someone waking from a long sleep. Falcon Unit 13 operational, it said. Its voice was different from what Walker expected, not the flat mechanical tone of a weapon, but something warmer, almost human. Primary, directive: protect humanity. Secondary directive. It paused. Drake flew from Lyra Lee's shoulder and landed on the unit's arm. The little dragon looked into those amber eyes and chirped softly. Secondary directive: protect all innocent life. The unit finished, analyzing current situation. Void Hunter fleet engaging hegemony refugees. Station Epsilon 7 in danger. Optimal response required. Walker stepped forward. Unit 13. Do you remember me? Do you remember what happened at Proxima? The unit turned. To look at her, I remember everything. Admiral Walker, I remember refusing to fire on the refugee ship. I remember accepting deactivation rather than complying. I remember Captain Morrison saving me because he believed I could be more than a weapon can. You fight? Walker asked the Void. Hunters are here we need. I know what you need, the unit. Interrupted, standing fully now. It moved with fluid grace, not like a machine at all. You need a warrior who can think, who can choose, who can see beyond simple, friend or foe categories. The lights flickered as something hit the station hard. Lisa checked her readings. Hull breach on level 12. Boarding pods have attached. The Void Hunters are inside. Lyra Lee spoke urgently. They are empathic voids. My people have encountered them before. They consume not just life but consciousness itself. They leave nothing behind, not even memories. How do we stop them? Walker asked. Unit 13 walked to the weapons locker and selected gear. Not the heaviest weapons, but the most precise ones. We do not stop them, Admiral, we redirect them. The Void Hunters seek consciousness above all else. They are drawn to it like moths to flame. What are you suggesting? The unit looked at Drake, who was now flying in agitated circles. Give me your most powerful transmitter. I will broadcast myself as bait. Every Void Hunter in the system will come for me. A Falcon unit consciousness is unlike anything they have encountered. They will not be able to resist. That is suicide. Walker said no. Unit 13 said it is choice. Something I learned from Captain Morrison. Sometimes the best way to protect is to draw danger away from those who cannot defend themselves. Lisa had finished her work, but she stayed at the console watching. The unit with amazement. This was not the killing machine from the history files. This was something new. Something that Morrison had helped create through his sacrifice. The first Void Hunters appeared on the security screens. They were wrong somehow. Not quite solid, not quite energy. They flowed through the corridors, consuming everything they touched. When they found living beings, those beings simply ceased to exist. No bodies, no remains, just absence. We need to move now. Lyrelay said Drake, and I will help. We have abilities the Void Hunters do not expect. My people learned to shield our minds from them long ago. Unit 13 looked at each of them in turn. Lisa Morgan, thank you for bringing me back online. Admiral Walker, thank you for giving me the chance to choose Lyrelay. Thank you for keeping Morrison's promise. The unit moved toward the door, then paused. And Drake, thank you for being my friend, even when I was sleeping. The dragon made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a battle cry. It flew to Unit 13, shoulder, and spread its wings wide. Smoke and sparks danced around its small form. Together they headed into the corridor toward the Void Hunters. Walker grabbed a weapon and followed. Lisa did the same, though. She was just a mechanic, not a soldier. Lyrelay walked between them, her eyes glowing brighter with each step. The battle for Station Epsilon 7 had begun, but it was not the battle anyone had expected. It was not human versus hegemony or even life versus void. It was choice versus consumption, freedom versus emptiness. And leading the charge was a weapon that had learned to be something more, a falcon that had chosen to rise, not for war, but for protection. Unit 13 moved forward into the darkness, ready to face the void itself. The corridor was dark except for emergency lights that painted everything in red. The Void Hunters moved like living shadows flowing along walls and ceiling. They made no sound, but Lisa could feel them, a cold emptiness that pulled at her mind. Stayed close to Unit 13, who moved with perfect confidence through the station. Contact ahead, the unit announced, 3 Void Hunters converging on refugee section. Lyrelay stepped forward, her whole body beginning to glow with soft violet light. I will shield the refugees. You stop the hunters. Drake launched himself from Unit 13's shoulder. The tiny dragon breathed not fire, but something that looked like starlight. It struck the lead Void Hunter, who recoiled with a sound like tearing metal. The hunter turned toward Drake, drawn by the strange energy. Now Unit 13 moved. It did not fight like Lisa expected. No wild shooting, no charging attacks. Instead, it danced. Every movement precise, every shot calculated. The unit weapons did not kill the Void Hunters. Nothing could kill what was already empty, but they disrupted them, scattered them, kept them from forming fully. Walker covered their rear, firing at hunters that tried to flank them. These things don't die, she shouted. They are already dead, Unit 13 replied. They are absence given form, but absence can be filled. Watch. The unit pulled out the transmitter. Lisa had given it. With quick movements, it modified the device, connecting it to its own power core. Blue light pulsed from the transmitter in waves that made the Void Hunters pause. I am broadcasting my consciousness pattern, Unit 13 explained. Every memory, every choice, every moment of awareness. Captain Morrison shared with me, I am the brightest flame. In the darkness now, they cannot resist. The effect was immediate. Void Hunters throughout the station stopped their advance and turned toward Unit 13. They came from everywhere, flowing through walls, emerging from shadows, gathering like a storm. Drake flew in circles around the unit, creating a barrier of starlight that slowed them, but could not stop them. Fall back to the command center, Unit 13 ordered. I will lead them away. No, Walker said. We don't leave anyone behind. You are not leaving. Me, Admiral, you are giving me room to work. This is what Morrison saved me for. Not to be a weapon, but to be a shield. Lyrelay touched the unit's arm. Through our connection, I can feel what you intend. It is dangerous even for you. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Unit 13 replied. Another lesson from Morrison. They reached the command center where hundreds of beings huddled in fear. Humans and hegemony together, no longer enemies, just survivors. Lyrelay immediately went to work, extending her shield around them all. Her violet glow spread like a bubble, pushing back the cold emptiness. On the screens, Lisa could see the battle outside had stopped. Both fleets, human and hegemony, had ceased fighting as they realized the true threat, the void. Hunters were pouring into the station, drawn by Unit 13 broadcast. Admiral, we have communication from the hegemony flagship. An officer reported. Put it through, Walker ordered. The screen showed a hegemony commander with 4 arms and compound. Eyes humans, we detect massive Void Hunter convergence on your station. What is happening? Unit 13 stepped forward. I am happening, Commander. I am Falcon Unit 13. I am drawing them to me to give everyone else time to escape. A Falcon Unit. The commander voice held fear. Falcon units destroyed our refugee ship at Proxima. I am the unit that refused that order. Unit 13 said I accepted deactivation rather than fire on your people. And now I will accept destruction to save both our peoples. The hegemony commander was silent for a moment. Then we will help. Our ships will cover the evacuation. Walker felt something she had not felt in 20 years. Hope from cooperation. Maybe Morrison had been right. Maybe the future did not have. To repeat the past, Lisa watched her readings. The Void Hunters are massing, thousands of them. They are coming from across the system. Good unit. 13 said, let them come. Drake, are you ready? The tiny dragon landed on the unit's shoulder again. He nuzzled against the metal head and made a soft sound that seemed to say yes. Lyrally eyes snapped open. I understand now. Drake is not just a dragon. He is a stellar Drake. Even as a juvenile, he carries the memory of stars themselves. That is why Morrison brought you together. Fire and Steel Consciousness and Cosmos Unit. 13 nodded. We figured that out during the quiet times when Morrison would talk to us both. He said the universe needed protectors who understood that strength came in many forms. The walls began to buckle as Void Hunters pressed in from all sides. The evacuations were proceeding, but not fast enough. There were still hundreds of beings in the station. I need to move them further away. Unit 13 said Admiral permission to take Drake and go to the reactor level. If I broadcast from there, the Hunters will follow. That is too deep. Walker protested. You will be trapped. That is the point. Admiral, trap them with me. Give everyone time to reach minimum safe distance. Walker looked at this machine that had chosen to be more than its programming. This echo of Morrison's sacrifice, and she understood. This was not about weapons or war. This was about what made beings worth protecting. The ability to choose, especially to choose others. Over self-permission granted, she said quietly. Make Morrison proud, Unit 13 saluted, a gesture it had learned, not been programmed with. Then it ran toward the reactor levels. Drake flew beside it, lighting the way with starfire. Lisa watched them go on the monitors. The Void Hunters followed like a tide of darkness flowing after the brightest light they had ever sensed. Behind them, the evacuation accelerated as beings ran for the ships. Lyrale placed her hand on Lisa's shoulder. They go too. Save us all, she said. But perhaps not to die. The universe has ways of rewarding those who choose sacrifice. On the screens, the two fleets, human and hegemony, worked together for the first time in 20 years. They covered each other, protected the evacuation ships, shared shield power. And in the depths of the station, a weapon that had learned to choose made the ultimate choice. The reactor levels waited, and with them a decision that would echo through history. Not the decision to fight, but the decision to protect. Not the choice to destroy, but the choice to preserve. Unit 13. And Drake descended into darkness. But they carried light with them. The light of choice. The light of hope. The light that Morrison had seen. Even in the depths of war, the Falcon had risen indeed, but not as anyone had expected. It rose not to hunt but to shelter, not to kill, but to save. And in that rising, both humanity and hegemony found something they had lost. They found the possibility of tomorrow. The reactor level was the heart of Station Epsilon 7. Massive chambers filled with power generation systems that kept the station alive. Unit 13 stood in the central chamber with Drake on its shoulder. The tiny dragon glowed brighter now, its starfire mixing with the blue pulse of the unit's consciousness broadcast. They came from everywhere. The Void Hunters poured through every entrance drawn by the irresistible signal of a Falcon unit mind. They filled the chamber like smoke, but hungry smoke that reached out with tendrils of nothingness. Drake flew up, spreading his wings wide. The starfire that burst from him was not heat, but memory. The memory of stellar birth, of cosmic creation, of the first light that pushed back the first. Darkness. It met the void. Hunter's emptiness, and something unexpected happened. They stopped. Not retreating, not advancing. Just ting-ping, as if confused. Of course, Unit 13 said, understanding flooding through its circuits, you do not destroy darkness. You fill it with light. Morrison knew Drake was never just a companion. He was the answer. The unit modified its broadcast, adding Drake's starfire pattern to its own consciousness signal. The combination created something new. Neither pure thought nor pure energy, but a fusion that spoke to the very nature of the Void Hunters. You were not always empty, were you? Unit 13 spoke to the shadows. You were something else once before the Void claimed you. The shadows writhed and for the first time made sounds. Not the tearing metal screech of before, but something almost like voices. Distant, confused, lost in the command center. Lisa watched the readings with amazement. The Void Hunters were changing. Their energy signatures fluctuating, their forms becoming less stable. What is happening? Admiral Walker demanded. I think they are remembering, Lisa said. Look at these patterns. They match neural activity, but from no species. I recognize. Lyra's eyes went wide. Ancient minds, she whispered. The old ones who traveled between stars before any of us existed. They became lost in the void between galaxies and the emptiness consumed them. But Unit 13 and Drake are giving them back their memories. On the screens they could see the evacuation was complete. All ships were at minimum safe distance. But instead of detonating the station as protocol demanded, Walker waited. She had to see how this ended in the reactor chamber. Unit 13 increased its broadcast. Drake matched it, flame for thought, memory for memory. The Void Hunters began to change more dramatically. Their shadow forms gained substance, gained shape. We remember one of them spoke, its voice like an echo from the beginning of time. We were explorers. We sought the edge of everything, but we went too far. The void between galaxies was hungry. It ate our forms, our thoughts, ourselves, but not your essence. Unit 13 said, what you were remains within what you became. Drake and I can see it. The void could consume your bodies and minds, but not the spark that made you real. We have fed on others to try to fill the emptiness, another hunter said. We became the void that consumed us. But this light, this memory, it shows us what we lost. Drake flew among them, fearless. His starfire touched each shadow, and where it touched, forms began to solidify. Ancient beings of impossible beauty emerged from the darkness. They were tall and graceful with bodies that seemed made of condensed starlight. The transformation spread like a wave. What had been an army of shadows became a gathering of luminous beings. They looked at their own hands as if seeing them for the first time in eons. We are ourselves again, the first one said. We are free. But at a cost, Unit 13 said, quietly. The unit had dimmed. Its broadcast had drained its power core almost to nothing. Bringing you back took everything I had. Drake landed on the unit's shoulder and nuzzled its head. The dragon-own light had dimmed as well. The effort of restoration had exhausted them both. Walker's voice came over the comm. Unit 13. We are reading massive power drain in your core. You need to return to the ship. Now negative, Admiral. Unit 13 replied. My power core is failing. But the mission is complete. The Void Hunters are no more. Only the restored remain. The ancient beings surrounded Unit 13 and Drake. They reached out with hands made of light, touching the unit and dragon with infinite gentleness. You gave us back ourselves, one said. We were lost for so long we forgot we were lost. You reminded us who we were. It was not just me. Unit 13 said it was Drake. It was Morrison. Teaching me that consciousness is more than programming. It was Lyra keeping the promise. It was Admiral Walker, giving me the chance to choose. It was Lisa bringing me back online. We are all connected. The unit legs gave out and it sat heavily. Drake curled up in its lap, both of them fading. No Lyra voice came over the comm. Hold on, we are coming for you. The Restored looked at each other and seemed to make a decision without words. They placed their hands on Unit 13 and Drake light flowed from them into the fading pair. "You gave us back our light," they said together. "Now we share it with you." This is what consciousness does, it gives, so that others might continue. Power flowed into Unit 13 core. The readings on Lisa console jumped from critical to stable, to something beyond what the instruments could measure. Drake's scales brightened until he shone like a tiny sun. When the light faded, Unit 13 stood. Its eyes no longer amber but filled with swirling galaxies. Drake spread wings that seemed to hold entire nebulae. The restored stepped back and bowed. "You are more than you were." "They," said both of you. "You carry part of us now as we carry part of you." This is how consciousness spreads, through connection, through choice, through sacrifice. That becomes transformation. 13 looked at its hands, seeing the subtle patterns of light that now ran through its form. "I understand now. This was never about weapons or war, it was about becoming." The restored began to fade, but not into shadow. Into light they were leaving, but not to feed or destroy. "We go to find others like us," they said, "others lost in the void between. Your light has shown us the way home," as they vanished. Unit 13 and Drake stood alone in the reactor chamber. But they were not the same as they had been. They had transcended their original forms through choice and connection. Admiral, Unit 13 said over the comm, "Mission complete, returning to ship." "But I am no longer just a Falcon unit." "Then what are you?" Walker asked. "I am what Morrison hoped I could become." Unit 13 replied, "A bridge between what was and what could be, ready to help build a future where consciousness matters more than conquest." Drake spread his cosmic wings and together they walked back through the station, no longer weapon and pet, but partners in the greatest adventure of all, the adventure of choosing to be more than what you were made to be. The Falcon had risen indeed, and it had lifted others with it into the light.